Whether it be on a sidewalk, in a landfill, or make up an island in the Pacific Ocean that is twice the area of Texas, trash is everywhere. The U.S. is responsible for about 250 million tons of the world's trash each year, but that number doesn't have to be that high, due to the fact that most of that trash can actually be recycled. Everyone needs to be mindful of the waste they produce as well as how to dispose of it. Today, I aim to inform you on environmentally friendly waste management practices, as well as the impact that carefree waste disposal has on the environment. I want to help educate and persuade others on how best to manage their waste, because the overwhelming amount of trash that we as humans produce has a bad impact on our environment. And the first step to progress is to educate. We're all on the spaceship Earth together, so we should all take part in making it a cleaner and healthier place to live. Through learning about proper recycling and better management of our trash, we can drastically lower the amount of solid waste that will occupy our landfills, as well as improve our environmental health throughout the world, one person at a time. I hope by the end of this speech you'll have a better understanding of the proper waste disposal methods, as well as the impact that trash can have on the environment. Recycling is one of the best ways that we can keep products that can be reused out of the landfill. Recycling is the process of converting discarded products, typically paper, glass, plastic, and aluminum, and turning it into new materials or objects. This way, these materials can be reused in future products so that they avoid piling up in the landfill. Landfills are one of the most common forms of waste management, but unfortunately, they can cause environmental and public health issues. They can release toxic chemicals into the earth, as well as greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. A landfill's capacity is not unlimited, so when it runs out of space, it will either expand or make a new one, taking up more and more space relatively to how much trash they receive. Now that we've talked about minimizing landfill use, let's take a closer look at environmental benefits of recycling. Once your recycling is picked up, it is sent to a facility where they will then separate and sort the materials. Those materials are then compressed into a 1,000-pound block, which are then sold to companies which will then clean it and reuse that material in new products. This process reduces the need for the harvesting of more raw material from the environment, since they already have the material ready to be repurposed, in turn reducing ecosystem and habitat destruction. 1 ton of reused plastic saves about 16 barrels of oil that would have previously been used to make more plastic. The amount of energy that is saved from using recycled material is quite positive. If given the same amount of energy that it takes to make one can from new aluminum, the recycled material would make about 20 cans. This same principle applies to most recyclable materials. If you're using less energy, you are also consuming less fossil fuels if you're not using a renewable energy resource. We talked about reducing what we send to landfills. We've talked about the environmental benefits of recycling, but let's finally talk about how to effectively recycle. Though many of us already recycle, a majority of Americans actually recycle incorrectly, not following in accordance to the local recycling center's guidelines, resulting in wasted time, resources, and money. It is important that everyone be aware of their regulations of their own curbside recycling pickup and or drop-off, so that they are able to avoid creating issues within the system. Recycling pickup is most commonly just requests for paper, glass, plastic, and aluminum products that will be dropped in the blue bin. So, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to look up what your local place needs. Many products may actually have the recycling symbol on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth recycling. Take these canisters, for example. This one right here has a recycling symbol on the lid, but that is only referring to the lid itself and not the rest of the container. So you can recycle the lid, but not the container. The container has a different set of rules, and these containers themselves are hard to recycle due to a process called manufacturer contamination. Manufacturer contamination pretty much just means that there's multiple materials put into one canister that are pretty much glued together so they're hard to get apart. That just means that if you were to put it in the recycling, that a recycling center wouldn't actually recycle it, they would send it to a landfill due to the fact that they're not worth the time, money, or effort to take apart and recycle them totally. So that is some manufacturer contamination. In conclusion, after learning about recycling and landfills, the environmental benefits of recycling, and even how to recycle proficiently, I hope you are now able to see the importance of why you should be mindful of the waste you produce and how you dispose of it. All these materials come from the earth, and some are even non-renewable, so when they're gone, they're gone. So if you have anything you don't want anymore and you could still get use out of it, donate it. If there's a disposable container that you could have a few more uses of, I would have greatly appreciated if you could do so. And I hope after today's presentation, you at least consider recycling if you don't already now. Let's all help clean our spaceship Earth.